Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to answer your questions about The Walking Dead. And yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. If you do want to take part in these Q&As, go and join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. The link for it will be in the description of this video. Yeah, I hope to see you there. But make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. But let's get into the very first question here. So Q&A. Knowing how Negan is now compared to before, do you think if Negan could go back in time that he would have still killed Glenn? That's a really interesting question, and I do wonder if that is true or not. Like, would he still do the same thing? Because the way his life turned out overall, like, it's really interesting with that character, and I think that's one thing that Dead City has to get into a little bit more, is like, is he happy about the way his life is sort of going right now? I know that in the apocalypse, you're not thinking about that so much, right? But, you know, when you look at the way his life is going overall, like, he got married again, right, to Annie and had a son, Joshua, and like, they're gone, and he's not even able to live with them or anything. Like, if you just look at the way his life has been, you know, since the apocalypse started. I know everyone's life is basically like that, but I do wonder if he looks back at certain moments and is like, I wish I would have did this differently, right? And if you look back at Glenn's death specifically as well, like, I really feel like Glenn's death was also unnecessary because he killed Glenn because Daryl punched him, right? Like, if you look back at that scene, Daryl literally punches him and that's why he kills Glenn. He just killed Abraham, and that was what he was trying to say overall, was just, you know, like you did this to my people here, then we're going to do this to your people, right? So if you look back at that scene, his reaction to, you know, killing Glenn just because Daryl punched him, like, it's such a crazy thing that I do think he could honestly regret that. Like, maybe he doesn't regret killing Abraham because it's just one of those things that he had to do. You know, it was like his thing of survival. Like, I'm sure if you asked Rick about the people he's killed in the past, like, do you regret this and that? Like, I don't know if he could say yes or no, because it's, you know, they all had to survive. And it's the apocalypse, they have to survive. But I think for Negan, when you look back at that scene, Glenn is somebody that, you know, I just, the way he died, it didn't really make too much sense. And it really is something that I think that he probably would regret. But again, that would be a really cool thing for them to actually get into. And I think they will get into stuff like that, especially because Herschel, I think, is going to be asking a lot more questions about things like this. But next question. Q&A, do you think we'll see another scene like what we saw in season 11, episode 22, when the warden had Negan and Annie on their knees, where Negan is begging the warden not to kill him? Do you think we'll get another scene like that with Annie and Joshua lined up by Adama? And do you think we can possibly get the warden in a dream sequence? I don't know if we'll see something like that again. Like, they could do something very similar, sure, but, you know, in that same aspect, to see the warden and, like, I guess, you know, people from the Commonwealth, we're probably not going to get that, because then you have to actually cast those parts and get the same actors to come back and all that. I don't see them doing all that stuff, but, you know, like, could we get similar scenes again? Yeah, I think so, for sure. Q&A, now that we know about the Dead City showrunner leaving after season 2, are you a bit concerned it'll become a Fear the Walking Dead situation where the showrunner left after season 3 and it went downhill almost immediately? I personally hope that's not the case because I love Negan and Maggie. Well, I will just say I think that no, that's not likely going to happen. That's always a possibility for sure. I don't see it though. Like, I'm really wondering why the showrunner, Eli Jornet, is leaving after season 2, because, like, I think he's done really great work on the show, but it's very possible that it really is a creative decision here. Like, I'm interested in seeing how season 2 plays out here, but maybe once we get to that point where season 2 is done, they announce season 3, there's a new showrunner. The showrunner that is rumored to be taking over was actually a part of The Walking Dead throughout, I think, season 4, 5, and 6, maybe even season 3 of the original show. And, like, well, he wasn't showrunning the show back then, but he wrote a few episodes or co-wrote a few episodes and whatnot, and they were really good episodes. So I think that the new showrunner is probably going to be taking the show more in the direction of what The Walking Dead probably wants. And maybe Eli Jornet, you know, wanted to do something different here. And again, it's one of those things, when I look at Dead City, I see a lot of complaints about the show, but I see a lot of people praising the show. And it's a lot of just like, I think if you like certain aspects of the story here, you're going to like it. If you don't like the way they're telling stories, you're not going to like it. And maybe AMC decided to do something different here and actually get a showrunner that was going to tell more stories similar to like The Walking Dead did in the past. Or maybe they wanted to do something, you know, a little different here and actually have, you know, like maybe like Dwight or other characters from The Walking Dead on the show and make it feel more like The Walking Dead, whereas maybe Eli Journe wanted to keep it more like, this story that was being told right now. Again, I don't know if that's actually what's happening at all. I have no idea at all. I imagine that Gimple has a lot more say in that as well. So I imagine, if Eli Journe wanted to introduce like, Lydia or, Dwight or Sherry, or I'm trying to think of other characters from The Walking Dead. Like, there's a lot of characters that could show up on this show, right? So I'm sure he would have been totally cool with it, but I just think it could have been a creative decision, I think, but obviously I don't know at all. I don't think it's going to go downhill, because if the showrunner that's taking over is actually taking over, I actually think it could get a lot better, because he's written some really amazing episodes for The Walking Dead, and obviously he will write episodes for this show, right? So I see it getting better, if anything. Q&A, do you think people would have accepted The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2 a lot more if those 6 episodes were combined with Season 1, so airing 12 episodes? Yeah, so I guess just having like that full story being told over one season, I don't think it would have been accepted more. I really think that the issue with The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2 was the fact that Carol's story was so separated from Daryl's story. I also just don't like the way it was told. Like, that was the issue with, I would say, the season was, you wanted to see more of the Fran storyline. It was built up so well in Season 1, and it was exciting to see where that was going to go. And they never spent a lot of time on it in Season 2. It was like, it was there kind of, but like, you had Carol's story, which took up a lot of the season. And again, I get it. She's a really big character, but I think that you want to introduce the character in a better way. And again, having like 10 episodes, I think for that story would have worked. I don't even know if 8 episodes would have worked for that story specifically. I think 10, most likely, for Carol to be there and telling that whole story there, because I think the Daryl story there with France was the main story. And the show got so much better once Carol was there, because Carol was a part of that main story. So it was awesome to see Carol and Daryl together, with the France storyline. It got so much better at that point there. And so I just think the Carol story before that was just other stuff that wasn't the most exciting. And I think telling it over 6 episodes especially hurt the show. And I still think if you had it in 12 episodes, it would have been way too fast. Like, you can't tell that big of a story in like 12 episodes. You can't. Like, that whole France storyline being 12 episodes is honestly insane. Like, I could see it being 16 episodes, but when you look back at The Walking Dead, like, big arcs like that are usually told over like, 22 episodes, right? Like, I think that that's something that you want to sort of tell for a show. Like, sometimes they're 2 seasons long, or sometimes it's like a season and a half. So I think that's the thing. When you look at the amount of episodes, like, that's 32 episodes, right? Like, the Whisperer arc was basically 32 episodes. Well, actually, the beginning part of season 9 wasn't. So it was 22 episodes overall, but like, they told that story so well. The Whisperer arc was just amazing. The build up to the Whisperer Pike scene over 8 episodes. Actually, you had the teaser beforehand too as well, right? So there was a lot of setup and build up to that arc. They told it so well, and that wasn't even like the ending of everything. That was like a really crazy moment that set up season 10, and then season 10 went to this whole thing, and it ended, I think, in a really awesome way. Yeah, I have some issues with Beta's death and whatnot, but like, overall, that was told really well. The Governor arc, the same thing. It was 2 seasons. I think that's just the issue. So I think no matter what, yes, the France storyline was told over 2 seasons, but it was 6 episodes per season. So no matter what, even if you made season 1 a bigger season, it's still the same amount of episodes. All the complaints would have still been the same, in my opinion. Q&A, do you think Maggie and Ginny are going to build a mother and daughter relationship similar to how Maggie and Sophia were in the comics? That's really interesting that you say that, actually. I totally forgot about that dynamic in the comics. Like, that was actually a thing, right? After Carol died in the comics, Maggie and Sophia, I guess, had, or they built up that dynamic, right? I don't know. It depends, because I feel like Maggie had that with Enid, right? And so, like, it's possible, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know where Ginny's storyline is going. It's one of the storylines that I'm having a hard time trying to predict right now. Like, she's going to try and kill Negan, but I imagine that she could just die this season. And it's going to more build up Negan's storyline, I feel like. Like, I think that's sort of the direction they're going with that, because I just feel like she's going to die at some point this season. And then, Negan, who has been struggling with becoming, himself or his old self, maybe at that point just, absolutely goes insane, right? And then starts Lucilleing a lot of people. Like, we saw that in the trailer. We haven't seen any of that yet. Episode 4 doesn't seem to really get into a lot of that. So I'm just like, is it going to be episode 5 or 6? Like, at some point, we will see that actually happen on the show. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know where they're going to be going with her character, but I just feel like she's probably going to die this season. Q&A, have you heard that Andrew Lincoln will be a part of a play called The Lady from the Sea? What do you think about it? Yeah, I have heard about that. I think that that's awesome. For him, I think that that's something that he's really passionate about. It seems to be anyways. Like, he's always doing a lot of plays and stuff. So yeah, I think that's really incredible. I would like to see him a part of more movies and stuff, because I just, I'm a fan of Andrew Lincoln, and I can't really see these plays, right? So like, I would love to see him in more movies or TV shows or whatever. That's why I'm excited about Cold Water. That's premiering this fall. I'm going to review every single episode. Like, it's not Rick Grimes, I know, but I really like Andrew Lincoln a lot as an actor, and I just think that he needs to be in a lot more things. And so, I think for him, I think that's super awesome. Honestly, I think that it's incredible. He's doing the stuff that he really wants to be doing, and yeah, it's cool. Q&A. Do you think the way the new group has been feeding hearts to their family walkers is somehow related to how Herschel used to deal with his family walkers by feeding them chickens? I mean, I guess it could be in some way. That group is a really interesting group, and I will do a video like on them, because there's a lot of things about the group that I think we're going to learn a lot more of, and they really do remind me of like the Scavengers, but also mixed a little bit with the Whisperers. And so, yeah, I'll get into that, but I don't know if that is like similar in any way. I just think that they wanted to have a new group here doing, something different, I guess. And yeah, like, you're going to come across a lot of groups overall in The Walking Dead that are going to have a lot of different beliefs, right? So, I think it's really cool. Q&A. In episode 3, when Maggie and Pearlie Armstrong were talking, Maggie mentioned something about how New Babylon had sacrificed soldiers who were ripped away from their kids, I believe. Was that something that happened back in season 1, or are we getting a flashback story about this at some point? I've watched season 1 like a while ago, so I can't really remember what happened. Well, what she's talking about there is just the fact that a lot of soldiers have to go with New Babylon to Manhattan, or like do other things, right? Like when New Babylon went there in the very first episode and was like, we need some soldiers, we're going to Manhattan, sort of thing. And you're taking a lot of soldiers or like parents away from their kids, right? Because they have to go and fight with New Babylon. And so that is sort of what was referenced there, is what she was talking about in that very first episode. That's why Maggie is with them, because they saw her as being more valuable than having, like, I think it was like 20 soldiers that they were mentioning. So I mean, I would say that's probably somewhat true, because I think Maggie, like, her experience, she's a really skilled fighter, but also she's been there, right? She went to Manhattan. She knows the Croat and Negan. Like, she knows how to deal with the situation. So I think that just made a lot of sense for her to actually go. But that was what they were actually talking about there. I do think that a lot of that stuff will come back up at some point in the future. Yeah, because obviously, to me, New Babylon, I think, are villains of the season. They're not heroes at all. There's nothing about the community or organization or group that is, I would say, good in any way. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, has there been anything good about the group since we first learned about them? I don't think so. Like, it's a group that you don't really want to be a part of. And so, I mean, it's interesting that Maggie had to join them. I feel like she didn't really have to, but I mean, I guess it's a way to get Maggie to New York City, right? Because obviously, like, she's not going to go back, but if she's forced to go back because of her community, then I guess it just adds that, to the story where you have Maggie, like, forced to go there, and it's something that New Babylon is doing and whatnot. But yeah, that's where the story is right now. And I'm excited to see where New Babylon actually goes this season, because I think that by the end of the season, they could be completely wiped out, at least, the group that's in New York City, or they could actually have, a pretty big presence there, and maybe they win. I don't think that's going to happen unless Bruegel joins New Babylon and takes over, just because Bruegel's being introduced this season, and I don't see him losing. I don't see this being the last season where they wrap up the whole arc. All those communities are done, and then Maggie and Negan go back to the bricks or something like that, or maybe go back to the hilltop. Like, that's way too fast, right? So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see where this is going to go this season, but I'm excited. I really am excited. So, anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. And first of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. Like, I always enjoy doing these Q&As every single week. It's a lot of fun because there's a lot of questions about the story or just other aspects to The Walking Dead that I might not get to in a video, right? And so I can sort of talk about a lot of different things in one video. Yeah, it's really cool to actually just get into all that and, talk about all that. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.